Do you have an iPhone? Do you text message me on your iPhone using iMessage? If you do, then please do me a favor and turn off your fucking read receipts. So if you saw my last video, then you already know that I've already gone through and cleared the room of all of Kip's toys, so he's not going to be chewing bones or licking on things or any of those annoying behaviors that he always does when I'm trying to record a video. So fingers crossed that he doesn't think of something for this one. Read receipts are one of those things that some genius at Apple decided that they need to include on their messages. Back when text messaging first started, I remember you used to be able to see when you sent a message and if it got delivered to the recipient's phone, which was handy, but iPhone took it a step further when they invented their iMessage system and added a feature for showing when the person had read your message. So basically whenever they opened it up and it no longer was marked as unread in your messaging app. It was a good idea in theory, however, it's one of those things that I wish that they would just get rid of, or completely delete, or somebody would file a petition and make it illegal, because it's one of those things that drives me absolutely fucking crazy. Years ago, many years ago, way before me or probably any of the people who are watching this video were even born, the only way to communicate was to either go over to someone's house and talk to them or send them a letter through the mail. It was a process that took forever, and you didn't really get delivery confirmation or read receipts off of that. Things eventually evolved into telegraphs. You could send messages over the wire, and some guy at the other end of the line would take your message down, write it down, and it would get sent by a messenger to your door, and you'd get it, and you'd be like, oh, look, I got a message. Like, that's the original text messaging. Some people don't even know that this crap existed. Like, the younger generation, no idea. They don't know how this crap worked. But that was the original text messaging. Things eventually evolved into telephones. Thank you to What's-His-Bucket Bell, for William Bell, whatever his name is, for inventing the telephone, because that eventually paved the way into us having cell phones later down the road. And then, of course, letters evolved into electronic communication, also known as email. And email also kind of created that first thing where you could see if somebody had received your message. These days you can request a read receipt when you send a message, so it'll tell you, or it'll prompt the other person to reply whether or not they have opened your message, and then you get a little prompt in your email saying this person has opened and read your message, and you go, yay, fantastic! One of those, I don't usually send read receipts in email either, because then people expect that you've gotten their email and will promptly respond to it, and sometimes I don't have the time. Email, of course, then evolved into text messaging on the cell phone, which is when they invented the delivery receipt, like I mentioned earlier, and then iPhone decided to take it one step further and add read receipts. Now, other applications do have read receipts. If you use Facebook Messenger, there's a little circle with your profile picture next to it that will pop up on both sides and kind of scroll down depending on who's where in the conversation. So if you send somebody a message, their little icon will be up next to theirs on the left-hand side, and then it'll move down next to yours, and it'll show that they've read it. And if it's just like a little gray checkbox, it means that it's been sent to them, but they haven't actually opened it yet. Kind of confusing, but it's the Facebook version of read receipts. You can also do that through Kick Messenger, WhatsApp. They all have this feature. I'm not sure which ones of them you can turn it off, but on the iPhone or any other Apple device, the iPad now has iMessage, as well as the new Macintosh operating systems on their Macintosh computers. They all also have read receipt features and the iMessage. Why am I such an advocate for turning off read receipts? Well, it drives me a little crazy when I send somebody a message and it says sent, which is fine, and it'll say delivered. So I go, great, okay, I know that the message made it to their phone. That's what I want to know. I want to make sure that they at least received the message to their device. Now, the part that I start to hate is when they send a read receipt, because it says, oh, look, this person read your message at 7:52 p.m. And I go, that's great. I sent the message at 4. That means they were probably busy doing something for 3 hours until they got up to the read when they actually opened the message and read it. But then it gets to be, 8, 9, 10, 11, and I still haven't received a response, especially if it was like a question that I asked. I haven't received a response yet. But I can tell if they opened the message and they read it, but I never got a response. Now, back in when text messaging was first invented and they did the delivery receipts, that was okay because there was some plausible deniability in that. You could assume that the person got your message on their phone, but they were probably just too busy, working or in a movie, or they're out of service range or something. Like, they're just not in a place where they can respond at the moment, and you just kind of expected they'll get back to you. Now, with the advent of read receipts, you know they've seen your message, and basically it feels like they are intentionally ignoring you, and I hate that. I know that that's not always the case. Like, maybe I'm at work, and I see your message, and I open it up, and I go, oh, I'm going to a meeting in 2 minutes. I don't have time to respond to this, or I don't know the answer, so I'll get back to you later. In most of those cases, I will actually send you a text and say, I'm sorry, I'm busy right now, I will let you know when I check my calendar. Something to that effect. But when you see read at whatever time, and it's like, hey, are you coming over for dinner later? And it says that they read your message at like 3:30, and it's approaching on 5:30, 5:45, and dinner's supposed to be at 6, and they still haven't responded, that drives me crazy. It's like, I know you read this almost 2.5 hours ago. Like, please just respond. Like, say yes, say no, say something. Just be like, I'm too busy, I'll text you later. Something. Please, dear God. Another situation that this might create problems is in a relationship. Say, not that you should, but it happens. Say you get in an argument over text message with your significant other. Things can be misconstrued over text because you don't have the ability to see facial expressions, or you can't italicize or bold things to make your point. So things can be misconstrued over text message, so I don't think you should ever have arguments over text message, but they happen. I've done it. It happens. The problem with read receipts is if you're in the middle of an argument and you have the read receipt on, it just pisses the other person off because they know you've seen their message, and that it basically, regardless of whether or not it's true, you're essentially ignoring them. And nothing will set off somebody who's already ticked off more than knowing that you've seen their message and you are intentionally ignoring it. So, yeah, big problem in relationships, and it just makes it worse. Recently, apparently Apple has or is going to, once again, I don't know for sure because I don't use read receipts, but apparently they have or are going to soon release a feature where you can choose to deliver read receipts on a per-contact basis. So maybe you'll send read receipts to your mother, but you won't send them to, my friend Adina who lives down the street. I can pick, or your boss, or, your significant other, or somebody. Like, you can choose who sees read receipts and who does not. Maybe a good idea, but maybe also not, because you're basically making something that is already a complicated and hot button issue more complicated and more hot button, I guess. Because essentially what you're doing is allowing somebody to say, this person gets read receipts, this person doesn't. And that opens up the whole argument once again, well, how come they have read receipts turned on and how come I don't? This would be especially problematic if you're in a relationship and like your mother has read receipts turned on, but your spouse does not. And so they're like, well, how come she can see when you've read her messages, but I don't get to? Opening yourself up to an argument and a fight. Not worth it. So the basic gist of this whole video is turn off your read receipts. It's very simple. You go into settings, you go into messages, and there's this little thing that says send read receipts, and you just turn that little slider button off because you'll save yourself a lot of problems in the long run, and you'll save me the anxiety of seeing that you have read my message and you've intentionally ignored me for 4 hours. So I hope you like this video. Please like and subscribe to it. Share it if you have Facebook or Twitter or any of those other fun social messaging application program things that you can share YouTube videos on. Tell me what you think about read receipts. If you think they're a good idea, do you use them? Is there a time where you have been infuriated because you sent a read receipt and somebody didn't respond? Tell me in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you next time.